Yeah, I mean, look, my biggest achievement, I think, really, is I still have the same team of people working with me. I have people, Suzanne McAvoy, Shirley Lynch, Damien Rooney, Grace, and I could keep going. Like Shirley and Suzanne are with me 29 years. 29 years.
That's insane.
As we often said, to be out, if they murdered somebody, to be out of jail.
To be out a couple of times.
Yeah.
They could have done it and gone back in, done another one and gone back in again.
I mean,
that's remarkable.
Phenomenal. Absolutely true. thick and thin through unbelievably tough times. And they stuck with me, you know what I mean? And, they've seen, 3 children, they've seen them grown up, they know them. I mean, it's, cool. It's incredible. And now their children are working in the business. You know what I mean? Susanna's 4 children, Shirley has 2. Suzanne's 4 children have worked in the business. Well, sorry, 3, 1 is too young. And Shirley's daughter's working there, her son is too young. But we've had, through that, Damien Kane, his daughter's worked through. So we have multi-generational people working in the business now, which is very proud, really, to be honest with you.
But that's remarkable. It's so interesting. I sat down with Lorraine Heskin earlier today, and the overlap between your stories is remarkable. That she has people with her like since she started. That's so rare these days. And the pride in her voice, having these people with her on that time and providing a pathway. She said, some people started literally sweeping the floor, and now they're like head chefs. They started sweeping the floor. Now they're managers. They started head chefs. Now they're operations directors. That's incredible. That's what I think business should be anyway. Is that you invest in people and people invest in you then.
Yeah, I mean, Shirley started as a part-time member of staff in Tala, came in and knew nothing about animals and was interviewed on the floor by John Delaney. I said, what you know about hamsters? And we signed up, hamsters are nocturnal animals, read the sign, got the job and started. And, she runs all her stores. I mean, she's a remarkable woman. I mean, we've a flat organisation. It's not top down, it's bottom up. They tell me what we're doing and I agree with them. I get my ass kicked. At the end of the day, we're all going in one direction. And yes, I will make the ultimate decision, but I will absolutely take their advice 99 times out of 100. Now, sometimes, I'll say, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do something different. Sometimes it works out well. Sometimes it doesn't. But we're all going in the one direction. And, we visit all the stores in Dublin every week and down the country once a month. We're talking to the staff. We're talking to customers.
So you personally go and visit the stores every week?
Yes, all the Dublin ones.
Why do you do that?
Because that's what it's all about. It's all about the stores. It's all about the customers. I mean, sitting back in your head office or wherever you are, I mean, you can think, it's like an echo chamber. You're talking to the same people. You're telling them the same stories.
You're looking at the data.
Exactly.
Data is very hard to understand sometimes.
You get out. You're getting it from the horse's mouth. What's going right, what's not going right, what's selling, what's not selling, what are people looking for, what do we not have? We have none of that colour, why not? What's going on? I mean, none of this is rocket science, but it's about doing the basics. But I learned that from Penny's. Arthur Ryan was out in the stores. He was the chairman. He was out. Seamus Halford, they were out in the stores looking. I mean, I remember with some phenomenal people, a fellow called Brian Cray, who was head of menswear. I remember him going into a store and he went through every product, colour and size. If you're out of 15.5 white or blue shirt, you were dead. If you didn't have so he knew, he could look through this, literally, I mean, he could look into your soul. Brilliant guy, but he was there to help you. I mean, you got your ass kicked if you weren't doing your job right, but he knew every detail about the business, you know what I mean? And he knew he was in the store. So if you had ordered the stock and hadn't come in, he'd be on to the buyer. Where is it? But he knew. So you knew what the best sellers were. You knew you had 15.5 white and blue shirt, a 34B bra for a woman. You knew, a kiddie sock. I still remember them.
I was just going to say, this is remarkable. It comes to the tip of your tongue, because obviously you had that muscle memory. Every week you had to be on top of this.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful when you get to talk to people who are they just know their business inside out. I love when I talk to founders and they just know, they're like this. Like, that's remarkable, because you have to be in it. I interviewed Pádraig O'Cady, who started Air Aaron, or he bought Air Aaron, and he said something remarkable to me. It was actually off air. We met for a coffee, and it was actually off air. He was telling me about his daily routine. He used to be up at 4 on the first flight to Dublin at 5. He'd be in Dublin Airport at his office at 6:30. I was like, why did you fly to Dublin? And he's like, you need to smell the aviation fluid or the aviation fuel. You need to smell it, Gary. If you're too far from it, you don't know what's going on. Yeah. And it just stuck with me. Because like any great entrepreneur I talk to, like yourself, they're just immersed in it. And it's when you see people drift away from the business, that's when things go wrong.
I mean, I'll tell you a funny story that happened over COVID. I think probably at the end of COVID. Now, COVID was a phenomenal time for us. I mean, our business increased 250% overnight. Our online sales overnight went up by 1,000% from doing 200 orders a day to 2,000. I mean, overnight, literally, like a switch went on. I mean, it was crazy. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But we were in there, myself and Shirley and Grace Dunleavy, who's the area manager for Dublin. So we go around the stores every Friday. Grace was in one of the other stores. Myself and Shirley were in our store in Carrickmines. And as I came into the store with Shirley, there was a lady looking at a kennel at the front of the store, and I said, "Oh, how are you getting on? What type of dog do you have?" He says, "Oh, I've got a golden retriever." And I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "I've one as well." I said, "Look, that kennel is too small. They need to be able to stand up and turn around, etc., etc." And she said, "Okay." She kind of looked at me. "Okay, all right." That was fine. So we're walking around the store. I go up and down every aisle. I look at, try to take in. I don't see everything, but I try to look up and down every single eye. Is there a gap? What are we missing? Why are you missing? When is it coming in? Have we anything else? You know what I mean? So you want to see the detail of what's going on in the stores. And we got it down to the back of the store where the dog food was. And this lady was looking at dog food. And I went over to her and I said, "How are you getting on? Look, I wouldn't buy that dog food. I'd buy this one." And she's looking at me like, what is this weirdo talking to me about, right? So we left the store. We're going on to the next store in Blackrock. And Maria, who's the store manager in Carrickmines, rang, bursting out laughing. And Shirley said, "What's so funny, Maria?" That lady came up to her and said, "There's a fat man and a small woman trying to rob my dog in the store."
What, she the dog with her, and she thought you were trying to
thought we were trying to rob her dog because she didn't realise that we worked in the store.
So funny.
So now if I'm talking to anybody like, "Hi, I work here," right?
I have to get your name badge.
Yeah.
"Hi, I'm Anthony. How can I help you?"
It was just so funny. I mean, but
1,000%, Anthony. Though. Yeah, that's insane.
I mean, and we were working at the time. We were working out of the back of our store in Ayrshire. That's where we're picking the orders. So, I mean...
I was going to ask you, did you have the systems to support that?
So, because we had been doing it probably for 6 or 7 years, probably 2014 is when we got back into it again. I mean, we were scarred.
I'd say so.
I felt mad.
Don't mention online.
We were scarred. But we started, and we invested money, and we had the systems, right? Now, we didn't have the systems to cope with that. We didn't have the pick and pack operation, all that. So we effectively turned our store in Ayrshire, which was our biggest store, into a fulfillment centre. Now, the store was still open. Customers could come in and shop it because we were allowed to stay open during COVID because we're essential. Yeah, providing food for animals. So we effectively took out, big merchandising units and put in pallets of dog food and pallets of cat litter, etc. And we were picking from the floor, right? That's where we were. And we had an operation in the back, which was, 4 meters long by 3 meters wide, and that's where we packed 2,000 orders a day. But everybody, the accountants, like my 2 sons were in college, they were working evening shift or whatever. So we had 2 shifts. People came in at 6 o'clock in the morning and worked till 2. Then there was a break, so we cleaned everything off, so there'd be no cross contamination. And then the next crew came in at 3 o'clock and they worked till 10, 11, 12, 1 in the morning. We tried to clear every order every day. That was the ambition.
Yeah.
And my main job there, because I'm useless at picking and packing, was getting sandwiches, going to Avoca, going whatever they wanted.
That old excuse, "Oh, I'm just bad at it. I'm just bad at that." I say that about Ireland. I'm just bad at it.